So I welcome you to another section of this class. This is Module 9, which implies that this is the ninth video that I'll be having for this course titled Journalism. And the topic for the Module 9 is Introduction to Media Law and Ethics. We've been able to treat and justify some cogent topics when we are talking about journalism in the previous modules, that is from Module 1 to 8. So now I'm introducing you to media law and ethics in journalism. So media law and ethics is an important topic when we are treating journalism, and we'll be delving more into the details or the content of the topic. So for the contents of the module, we have the meaning of law. We're looking at the meaning of law, the purpose of law in the society. Then we have ethics also, that is the meaning of ethics. And again, we'll be looking at media law, then media ethics, then the difference between media law and media ethics and the likes. Those are the main contents of the module. So in introduction, we have every profession, institution, or society operates by a set of guiding rules. So we can't talk about a profession or any organization without without a particular guiding rules and regulation that is guiding the affairs and how things are done in the organization or in the institution or even the profession as a whole. However, in journalism and also in mass communication, being a professional means more than just graduating from a journalism school. One needs to know, to understand and apply the professional ethics. So in this module, we'll be looking and we'll be exploring the media law and ethics as the framework that keeps the journalism profession on track. So that is the structure and the framework that keeps journalism on track and not off track. So let's look at the meaning of media law and ethics. They form the foundation of a responsible and free press, shaping how information is gathered, how information is reported, and how information is consumed in the societies and worldwide. So while the law set the legal boundaries, defining what can be published, by doing this, we are trying to protect the individual's rights and also prescribing penalties for violations. For violations, ethics guide journalists in navigating gray areas where the law is silent or ambiguous. So together, they create a framework that balances the public's right to know. Together, that is media law and media ethics. They create a framework that balances the public's right to know with the need to protect privacy, maintain social harmony, and uphold dramatic values. So now let's look at the meaning of law as generally in a layman definition. Law is a system of rules created and enforced by a country or organizations that also regulates the action of people and organizations. So law can be generally seen as a system of rules that is guiding the action of people and the action of the organization as a whole in a particular country or in an organization. So it also refers to a set of rules and regulations that govern the behavior of individuals and institutions within a society, enforced by authorities such as governments or courts. So it could also come from the government or from the courts that is guiding the affairs, the running, the framework in which different professions and organizations have to follow to govern the behavior of individuals, not only the individuals but also the different organizations itself, and it is enforced by the authorities. So laws are essentially set of rules either established by nature or crafted by human authorities, designed to shape and regulate the world around us, from the physical universe to human behavior in communities and countries. So broadly speaking, laws fall into two distinct categories. So we can say that law we have one to be those governing natural phenomena and those governing human activities. So law can be classified into two different categories, and one of them are those that is governing natural phenomena, that is natural happenings and all, and the one that are also governing human activities. So let's look at the purpose of law in the society. So why do we need law in the society? Why must we adhere to the rules and regulations or the laws of a given society? Why do we need that? So according to Ewulukwa 2004 page 1, he identifies 5 important contributions of law to the society, and they are to the society as follows. We have one, regulation of human conduct. That is, law is being used to regulate human conduct, how human conducts themselves, how they behave, how they react, and of human action as a whole. So two, reconciliation of the interest of the individual to that of the community. Make sure to that is, law makes sure to align the interest of the individual and that of the community. So three, we have pointing out when interest exists. That's also one of the function of the purpose of law in the society, to point out when interest exists. Four, we have man owes his dignity to law. That is, we can't talk about being a responsible man without law. Any man that is abstaining from law is not dignified enough. So that is to tell us man owes his dignity to law. It is according to the rules and regulation of the country. When man follows the rules and regulation, the laws, that's when we know this person is a responsible individual, is dignified enough, and the likes. So we have the fifth purpose to be that law initiates changes in an economic, political, social, and religious structures. So now let's look at the meaning of ethics. Now we've addressed law. Now let's look at the meaning of ethics on its own. So ethics refers to the branch of philosophy. A branch of philosophy that deals with what is considered right or wrong behavior, guiding individuals and organizations in making decisions that impact themselves and others. This is unlike law. Ethics is there to just is what is can be defined as what is considered right or wrong behavior. That is just the norms. Yes, let's put it that way. So now, themselves and others, it involves a set of moral principles and values that shape our actions, our choices, and our interactions, influencing how we treat others, respect dignity, and promote greater good. In essence, ethics is about doing what is right even when it is difficult, and being accountable for the consequences of our actions as reflected in the principle of fairness, principle of justice, and respect for human rights, which are fundamental to personal and societal well-being. As seen in various cultures and societies, including those in Nigeria, where concepts like Ubuntu and Omoolua emphasize the importance of community, compassion, and responsibility. And the Josephson Institute for the Advancement of Ethics, that is Josephson Institute 2003, and identifies certain values as being essential to ethical life. These values are honesty, integrity, promise keeping, fidelity, caring for others, responsible citizen, accountability, fairness, and respect for others. So according to this Josephson Institute, these are the values which are essential to ethical life. Anyone that wants to live his or her life by doing the right thing must have the following classification, the following the characteristics as mentioned by Josephson Institute. So we can't say law and ethics are the same, which because ethics is doing what is right from what is wrong, and law are the laid down rules and regulation governing a country or an organization. So now let's dive into the meaning of media law. We've been able to address law and ethics. So media law now is the area of law that governs the production, the publication, broadcasting, and dissemination of content through all forms of media, including newspaper, magazines, television, radio, films, books, websites, social medias, blogs, podcasts, and advertising. So media law can be said to regulate the following. So one is what can and cannot be published or broadcast. So media law is there to regulate what can be broadcasted, what can be published, and what cannot be published or broadcast. It is also there to also regulate the rights and responsibilities of journalists, broadcasters, publishers, filmmakers, and online platforms. It is also there to regulate the rights and responsibilities of these professionals. So we have three to be that it also regulates the legal protection and restriction on freedom of expression and the press. is there to make sure that everything is in line with the legal protection and restrictions. We should know that there are limitations to, although we have freedom of expression and freedom of speech, but there are some certain limitation and restriction when we are talking about freedom of expression. So media law is there to regulate that. So we have four to be. In short, media law is the body of legal rules that balances the right to free speech and a free press with the protection of individual reputations, privacy, national security, public order, and other societal interests. So now let's look at media ethics. Although it has been noted that ethics is fundamentally a matter of self-regulation, it is inbuilt and voluntary enforcement. Mass communication ethics or media ethics, on the other hand, therefore refers to the body of moral principles and guidelines that professionals in this field, in the field of in media field, have themselves formulated to direct and regulate their own professional behavior. It is this ethics, media ethics, is mainly to guide or to build the professionals in the field. So and media ethics refer to the set of moral principles, values, and professional standards that guide the conduct of individuals and organizations involved in gathering, producing, and disseminating information to the public. It applies to journalists, editors, broadcasters, photographers, bloggers, social media influencers, and even citizen journalists that we mostly have these days in the 21st century. So unlike media law, which is enforced by courts and carries legal penalties, media ethics, on the other hand, is largely voluntary and self-regulated. That was why I said it is inbuilt. Mainly, we can say it is inbuilt. It represents the conscience of the profession and the moral responsibility that comes with the power to shape public opinion and influence society. It's just to say that we can just say that media law is more, it has more to do with the government and courts and the regulation of the country as a whole concerning what should be done when we are talking about dissemination of information and gathering of information. When we are talking about journalism as a profession. So while media ethics, on the other hand, are the values, the ethics, the principles that is guiding the profession as a whole. So now let's look at the difference between media law and ethics. You have media law is made and enforced by the government and the courts, as I've said earlier, while media ethics is created and followed by journalists and media organizations themselves. So that's one of the difference. Media law is more closer to the government and courts, while we have media ethics to be more closer to the journalists and the media organization themselves. They are just trying to shape the way they operate. So now let's look number two. We have media law is compulsory and backed by legal sanctions, whereas media ethics is voluntary and relies on personal and professional conscience. So that's another difference. It is compulsory to follow the law. The law is very vital, while the ethics is just is inbuilt and voluntary. We have some kind of journalists that I don't mostly abide with it, but it is necessary. We can say it is necessity. So let's look at number three. We have breaking media law can lead to fines, imprisonment, lawsuits, or the shutdown of a media outlet, while violating media ethics brings no legal punishment, but results in loss of credibility and public trust. That's another differences between media law and media ethics. When media law is broken, it can lead to different kind of penalty, different kind of sanction. It's according to the government. While if when media ethics is being broken, it can also only lead to losing trust in the people and losing loss of credibility and public trust. So we have media law tells journalists what they are not allowed to do under penalty of the state, while media ethics tells them what they should not even do when the law permits it. That's another difference. The law might permit something, but it is just normal for the professional journalism as a profession not to do it. So we have fifth difference. The fifth to be media law protects individuals, society, and the state from harm caused by irresponsible reporting, while media ethics protect the integrity and honor of the journalism profession itself. These are the main differences that we should know when we are talking about media law and media ethics. So now let's look at in conclusion, media law and media ethics, although they are distinct in nature and their mode of enforcement, or they work together as the twin pillar that sustain responsible journalism and credible press. So media law provides the legal boundaries and enforceable sanctions that protect individual, society, and the state from harm, while media ethics serves as the moral compass that guides practitioners towards truth, fairness, independence, and public service, even in situations where no law is broken. One sets the minimum standard that must never be violated. The other demands the highest standard that should always be pursued. So, in an era of instant digital publishing, misinformation, and shaking public trust, mastery of both law and ethics is no longer optional, but that is the fact that it is the hallmark of professional excellence. So, journalists who understand and respect these frameworks will not only safeguard their own credibility, but also strengthen the democratic role of the media as the fourth state. Thank you. That will be the